you did it again. Dale, oh no, but you see, I was thinking it was on alphabetical order, but obviously it's not, because Andy Donovan's there.
It's in order of gorgeousness.
Who we got? We got Julie. Julie, I've just been speaking to with on the Breakthrough Session Masterclass follow-up. We got Gordon Berry. We got Rob. Rob was on the Breakthrough Session Masterclass too. Caroline Day. We got Sean. Hi, Sean. Got Liz. We got Mark Woodhouse is in the house. We got Jeff Fairfield again. Alex, Andrew Holloway, Liz Martin, Phil Atkinson. Phil actually lives in Edinburgh. And I don't know why last week I said he was in Glasgow. But there we go. Who else we got? We got David. Yeah, we got Pat O'Connor. We got Dan Lake, Linda Weatherly. Hi, Linda. We got Roger. Roger. We've got Paul. The thing with Roger is, because I do so much shortwave amateur radio stuff, at the end of every call we say Roger, you see. So we got Frank. Missed you on the Breakthrough Session Masterclass follow-up, but we were getting the recording to you. Frank. Got Grant Foster out in Spain. And we've got Pam. And her lovely dog, by the looks of it, who's actually more into the session than Pam is. So there we go. So usual. Hi everyone, great to see you. Usual MO, if you can mute your microphones, because this is being recorded on another computer in speaker view, so that the recordings are of the speaker, which would be me mainly, but then obviously somebody asked me a question, it would be them. If you put your questions in the chat, any questions that come up from this session or any of the other sessions for that matter, then Sally will manage those. And then when we do Q&A, we'll bring Sally online, and she'll say, okay, please unmute your microphone and ask the question. Then if you could unmute your microphone as soon as you've asked the question, that would be great, because any side noise will affect the recording. Brilliant. So we're on Think and Grow Rich, episode 8, persistence. Now, I think an interesting thing that I picked up from this, and that I'm going to give you my personal perspective on this, because it's only what I've got, is that, you know, the title says persistence is the way that you create faith. We talked about faith a few episodes ago. So, you know, if you don't have faith in yourself, then persistence is the way to create it. Now, we've got two things here in this particular chapter. We've got desire, and we've got this thing that Napoleon Hill calls willpower. I want to talk a lot about willpower. Now, the thing with it is that for me, desire is infinite. You know, when you're on purpose, when you're following your true desire, it gives you an infinite amount of energy. Whereas willpower, to a certain extent for me, means that you're making yourself do something that you don't actually want to do. So willpower takes effort, takes energy, and therefore is finite. So what we've got to desire is infinite. Desire comes off your purpose, infinite. Willpower, finite. So therefore, the most important thing, which we covered in previous sessions, is the whole stuff around desire and purpose. Though, with that in mind, persistence is what keeps you going for your goal. If an action isn't working. So for me, persistence is around being on the cause side of the equation. So we've talked about the importance of taking action, and certain actions you might take might not create the result you want. Persistence is what will keep you going until you've created the faith in yourself that you can create whatever you go for. So a question for you, which doesn't come from the book, it comes from me. How many times are you willing to fail before you succeed? How many times are you willing to fail before you succeed? For a lot of people, that's one. They go for it, it doesn't work out, and they go, oh, obviously, it's not the right time, I'm not good enough, the economy is not right, blah, 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 blah. This is really important at the moment, I think, because, you look at the news, and I don't really look at the news to find out what's going on in the world, because that's not what the news is about. But what it does tell you is what's in most people's minds. So what we've got at the moment is recession. We've got a cost of living crisis. And also people are being faced with the evidence that is correct. What I used to go and buy in my supermarket locally for a bit of a shop was £40. Now it's £80. So you've got all this stuff coming out in the news, cost of living crisis, and then you go and buy your food, and it's twice as much. You go out for a meal, it's nearly twice as much. So you're getting that feedback to support what you're getting in the media. So what do you do about that? Well, there's two things you can do. One is you can economize. Great. And I think that's a good idea. I'm doing that. I'm looking at things where I'm going like, okay, I'm paying for this, and actually I haven't used it for a year. So why am I still paying this amount of money per month? But again, like willpower, economizing is finite. You can economize so much, but at some point in time, you can't economize anymore. Whereas, just like desire, the amount of income that you can bring in is infinite. So what do we focus on? Do we focus on bringing in more money, or do we focus on saving? For me personally, I'm focusing on bringing in more money, and also, it hasn't been go like, okay, I'm paying too much for this. Let's have a look at what I can do about that. So it's a good wake up call. And persistence is around bringing the previous lessons. We've set a goal, we take an action, or massive action, and an action that we take didn't enable us to achieve the goal. What do? Keep the goal, persistence, change the action. I think it might have been last week or a week before, we talked about light bulbs, and how many times do you need to fail to create a light bulb? 10,000 times. So here's the strategy. I want to give you my strategy for this, because this is something I experienced in the early 2000s. I decided that I didn't want to use hotels anymore for our trainings. I'd done a 2-week master practitioner training, big room, 50 people. The room cost me £1,000 a day, I think, at the time. Fair enough. And then I got the tea and coffee bill. And the tea and coffee bill was £15,000 for 50 people. Phil, you might have actually been there. I don't know, I can see you laughing now. £15,000 for tea and coffee. And I'm going, I only wanted to buy tea and coffee for my delegates. I didn't want to buy a fucking plantation. So I thought, this is crazy. We could do better by having our own training venue. So I set a goal of having our own training venue. And I decided that where I wanted the training venue was Chiswick High Road. Mark, you went to that training venue. And Chiswick High Road, nice area, and very specific thing I wanted was it was in the high road and it was 5,000 square foot, something like that, because I wanted the training room and I wanted the office in the same place. Set the goal. Estate agent contacted me. We found somewhere for you. Went and looked at it. Brilliant. Put in an offer. Didn't get it. Now, a lot of people at this point in time would go, I knew we couldn't get somewhere in Chiswick High Road for that price, whatever, and would have given up. But here's the strategy, cause and effect. I went, okay, so how did I create not getting it? What is there for me to learn from this? And what do I need to do differently so that next time I achieve the goal? And whenever you ask your unconscious mind a question like that, you'll always get an answer. And the answers are always good. Notice there's no why question there. Why didn't I get it? Because that's going to give you bullshit answers. How did I create this? What is there for me to learn from this? What can I do differently next time so that next time I get it? Got my answers, integrated them, set the goal again. Lo and behold, another estate agent came to me and said, right, we found somewhere. I went to look at it. It was perfect. Fitted all my criteria. I went for it. Put an offer in. Offer not accepted. A lot of people now go, I failed twice now, and we give up. I did the same thing again. How did I create not getting it? What is there for me to learn from this? What do I do? What do I need to do next time so that next time I get my goal? got my learnings, integrated them, set the goal again. Third time, I found the place, put the offer in, and it was accepted. And many of you who have been around for a while actually came to my training center in Chiswick. So that's persistence. So I think a lot of people think that persistence is, and this is linked in with plans. This is a plan, and I'm going to be persistent and make this plan work, no matter what it takes. If the plan doesn't work first time, it will not work second time. It will not work third time. There's no like, okay, I just need to work twice as hard, twice as long, twice as whatever. If a particular plan of action doesn't work, it's never going to work. Change it. And be persistent in the goal that you're going for. So, how many times are you willing to fail before you succeed with the goal? That's a question. And it's a good question. And the people who succeed are the people that go, I don't care how many times I fail. I'm going to keep going. Yep. Now, how do we create persistence? So we've got your purpose, which creates your desire. That's the most important thing. So, doing something that's not in alignment with your purpose and not in alignment with your desire, it's going to be really hard work to be persistent. In fact, don't even bother. Then you've got action. Then the feedback, just like I've said with my example of the training center in Chiswick, I was taking certain actions and the action wasn't working. So, stop being a bull in a china shop and go, I'm going to make this work. Go, okay, what do I need to do differently next time so that I get result? Then the third thing that Napoleon Hill talks about as far as the four things that create persistence is being, he says, closed-minded. What he means by that is not listening to other people. Your unconscious mind is eavesdropping on everything that people say. So it fits in with what we talked about last week with not sharing your goals with people. Because the last thing you'd want to do is share your goal with either a doubting Thomas. Who are they doubting? Not you, but they're doubting themselves. Or somebody who doesn't want you to achieve your goal because it will make them feel bad. So the key thing with that is not about being closed-minded, but I think either not sharing your goals widely or potentially not sharing them with anybody else. And then the fourth thing you said around developing persistence is mastermind. Sharing your goals with your mastermind group being people that 100% totally support you in achieving your goals. And mastermind actually is the next session. And mastermind, from Napoleon Hill's point of view, it'll be a big session next week because Napoleon Hill's idea of mastermind is not what most people think about masterminding today. Nowhere near. It's been massively misinterpreted. But I'm going to leave the secret, the essence of that, to next week. So then we've got willpower. Using willpower. Now, for me, willpower is making yourself do something that you don't feel you want to do or want to make yourself do, which could be an indication of what you are doing is not in alignment with your purpose and your desire. That's the first thing to check. Then a great book, and it's one of my favorite books I've read over the last couple of years. I keep going back to it over and over again. So you've probably heard me talk about this before, is Gary Keller's book, The One Thing. And what Keller talks about in there's a whole series of things he talks about. And I did put it in the group, a short video about that book, but I didn't really emphasize this thing in that video, which is a number of scientific studies in the US around this thing called willpower, is that it's not infinite, it's finite. And you have a certain amount of willpower. And Keller uses the analogy of it's like petrol or gas in your tank. And the more you drive around, the more petrol or gas you use. So your willpower runs out. So you've got the highest level of willpower first thing in the morning when you first wake up. So what Gary Keller says is, if we're working on the one thing that he's talking about, or the most important thing, if you're talking about it from a Think and Grow Rich point of view, is the most important things, or the one thing, you do it as soon as you wake up. When you've got the highest level of willpower, then it's easy. Then your willpower declines. Whenever you take a break, your willpower comes back a little bit. Take a break, your willpower comes back. I think so many of us are trained in this. I know I haven't had a 9-to-5 job now for, 32 years. And yet I still have this thing going like, I can't take a break. I've got to do this. And that's completely the opposite way of actually operating your willpower. Take a break. Your willpower will recharge. It's like a battery. It'll recharge after a break. Though it will never come back to the level of charge that you had when you first got up. So how many people do you know that when they first get up, what they do is they go and make a cup of coffee, they watch the TV, they read the newspapers, whatever it may be, and then they go, okay, now I'm going to start work, which also is not a good connotation. Now I'm going to go and do what I need to do. Whereas what we've got here from Napoleon Hill, and also more recently Gary Keller, is you get up and you do the things that are most important. Just imagine this. Using your willpower, as soon as you get up, you do the most important things that you need to do to achieve your goal within an hour of waking up. You've done that now. So now you can have the rest of the day off. Because in actual fact, you'll have produced more, be more productive in that first hour with your highest level of willpower. That's, somebody once said to me, the only people that have a problem with work-life balance are people who don't love their work. I love my work. And I still like to do other things. But, for achieving my goals, first thing, as soon as you wake up, do it first thing. Before you've even made a coffee, before you even read the newspaper, before you even watched the TV, whatever it is, do the most important thing. And now you're done. Not saying that you wouldn't want to do other things during the day. And you've done, from Gary Keller's point of view, the one thing that will enable you to achieve your goal. That's how we use willpower. Whereas a lot of people go, no, willpower is hard work. I've got to force myself. When you wake up, you've got tons of willpower. Your tanks are full. Your batteries are full. Use it and it will decrease. Then stop using it. So yeah, that's my take on persistence for this week. Sally, do we have questions about any of that?
We have a question from Roger.
Roger.
Oh, that's caught me out. I wasn't ready for that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, good. First of all, I just want to say I love the distinction between desire and willpower. I think that's great. I haven't come across that before, and I certainly hadn't seen it that way, so that's terrific. You'll be really pleased to hear I've got a planning question. This is more geared up for business. I accept that, but could there be a situation, because this is going to be the challenge, you see, if I'm in a business situation and I say, if the plan hasn't worked the first time, it's never going to work, change the action. Now, as it happens, I'm totally sold on all your arguments and I buy it, but there will be situations, even if it's not true, but it will have there'll be some evidence to suggest that it is, where the plan is actually robust and solid, but people or I haven't followed through the plan as per what we said we were going to do. So the actions were right, even though I accept we should have milestones and not worry about the actions, let them evolve. I accept that. But let's suppose we're in a business situation, and because people need to be told what to do, we've got some action. The actions haven't been followed through properly. So therefore, it's not actually the fault of the plan. It's the execution. Can you just give me your take on that, if you follow my gist?
Yeah, I think I do. Let me just reiterate what I've got from that. So you're saying there's it's a plan of action, not a business plan, as most businesses talk about. These are the actions we're going to take. And then the people involved haven't taken the action that they've agreed to, and therefore they don't get the result, which doesn't mean that the plan of action didn't work. It's just that they didn't follow through.
Yeah.
Is that right? Am I understanding it right, Roger?
Yeah, and we have actually defined the action, because sometimes when you're in a business situation, you have to wipe people's bottoms and change their nappies at the same time. So therefore, there is a degree of telling them, you do this, you do this, you do this, you spell it out, and then you're reliant on their skills being able to do it because they've claimed they've got those skills. They've been put in that position because they're supposed to be able to do this stuff. And if they don't carry out those specific tasks properly, it's not the tasks that are wrongly defined, it's that they haven't carried them out. That's the situation I'm talking about.
Yeah. So, I come across that quite often when I'm working with businesses, because I do a lot of business training as well as my my public training and as well as my private clients. And here's an example of this. Quite often, I was asked when somebody was hiring me to do a particular training for them, what guarantees can you give me? Can you guarantee the results from the training? And my question on that was, yes, I can totally guarantee the results of the training, provided you can guarantee that your employees do exactly what I tell them. To which the answer was normally, well, I can't guarantee that my employees will do exactly what you tell them. And so my response then is, in that case, you've got a bigger problem than you thought you had. So now when I do corporate stuff, which tends to be around what some people might call leadership, et cetera, then I will always do in-house what we call publicly our Fix Your Mind training. Because what is it that stops people taking action? Negative emotions, limiting beliefs, misaligned values. So now, when we're asked to go in and do something, we've done this a couple of times over the last couple of years, and it's worked really well. Is we've always kicked off with basically our Fix Your Mind training, where we use timeline therapy, so that all the people there release their anger, their sadness, their fear, their guilt, get rid of any linchpin major limiting decisions, and they get rid of their away from values and set towards goals. Then we'll give them the skills, which normally we're brought in for what we would globally call influencing skills. But what's the major? I think there's two major skills for a leader. One is influencing skills, the other is presenting and speaking skills. And if we really want to get the result, if a company really wants to get the result, then they'll precede that with what we would call our Fix Your Mind program. So it's like we call it the inner leader and the outer leader. The inner game of leadership and the outer game of leadership. My experience is that's the only way that you can really make business training work. Is to do it, inside out.
One final question, if I may, and then that was terrific, by the way. Really helps a lot. Let's suppose you're not doing leadership training. Let's suppose you're building some software, a software application. How would that work in the context of what you've just said? Would you actually go so far as to say, right, let's say they're using Agile, so almost real-time design and build at the same time, releasing chunks of code that actually go into do real things. So it's heavy stuff. Would you actually do your fix your mind on the team? Because that could be a tough call for something that isn't actually around leadership, and it's important, but how on earth would you sell it?
Yeah.
Do you follow my gist?
No, I do totally. And you know, my background is in software development, admittedly late 80s, but with big software projects. How would I sell it? Well, so how I'd sell it is really about having a team of people that are 100% committed to producing the product and really want to show up every day, rather than showing up and working because they need to. Now, here's the thing with this. When you put that in place and you empower a team, some of them will leave. And they're the people that you would want to get rid of sooner or later anyway. I've experienced this, so now I put it as a pre-frame when I'm doing a corporate training program. The other thing I would do, and I did this for a team in Microsoft here in the UK, and the results were phenomenal. High performing team. We didn't do the fix your mind. We didn't do that. This was in the late 90s when I had different thinking than I've got now. And we did values alignment with the team over 2 days. The result was absolutely phenomenal. I do have a video where I explain that process. I'll put it in the group. Then we took another team where we actually did, we've done the two combined, where we did the fix your mind process and the values alignment process. And again, then the results were even greater. So, you could just go in to do values alignment. The video that I've got is about how you go about doing that with a corporate team or any team. Could be a sports team, could be a family, could be any kind of like team, Ultimate would be fix your mind process followed by values alignment process. And you're already aware of the fix your mind process. It's basically group timeline therapy, and we've got a number of corporate clients lined up that we're going to be doing that with this year. And we did some last year as well, and the results were phenomenal. Not everybody's going to like it, because it's you've got to go into it with some courage. You got to go into it with a certain amount of acceptance that yeah, there are things that make you angry, make you feel sad, scare you, make you feel guilty. That you have got some mindsets that have you go, I'm not good enough, or whatever it may be, and that you have got away from values, as we all have. But then, in a group setting, different from a breakthrough session, although it's not required for the process to work, that people share that with the group, but it's kind of like, owning up, where a lot of the corporate world is about, no, I'm perfect, I'm strong, I'm, and it's kind of like, no, you're fucking not. Be honest about it, and let's get it sorted out. Then you create a real high-performing team. Interesting. My example of a high-performing team has always been the Red Arrows, which is kind of like falling apart a little bit this week, but there we go. Does that answer your question, Roger?
Absolutely perfectly. Really insightful and much appreciated. Thanks, David.
Cheers, mate. Sally.
Hey, Andrew Donovan next with his question, please.
Oh, hiya there. I've got a couple of questions actually.
Andrew, could you
first of all,
I'm just trying to see you on the screen. Yeah, got
can you hear
you.
me okay? Yeah, so
Yeah.
the first question is, when you say about dropping the goal and it's more likely to happen, how does that work where you've got like Usain Bolt and he's absolutely do or die attitude and it works for him? How does that? How do you square them two? And this, I've got a second question after that.
Sorry, what was the question again?
So from previous sessions, and if you say if you've got a goal and you're determined for it, drop it and it's more likely to happen. And then how does that square with Usain Bolt and do or die attitude, and it drives them to win? Is it because they dropped the goal? We don't.
Yeah, so it's not really. It's a bit of a paradox, Andy, actually, which I find quite often when you start working at this kind of level. This is what you get. It's about having a goal which fits in with your desire, fits in with your purpose, and then letting go of anything you've got about it not being okay to not achieve the goal.
Okay. So do you think Usain Bolt did that? I don't know. I think he might have done that.
I haven't got a glass here tonight. Oops. So I've got a pen here. So for anything to exist, you've got a boundary.
Yeah.
That separates this pen from the rest of the universe.
Okay.
So when you set a goal, you create a boundary. A boundary that separates your goal from the rest of the universe. Yeah. Now, if you've got somebody that's so attached to the goal that they're not okay with not achieving the goal, as in, maybe they're afraid of not achieving the goal, or they're worried about not achieving the goal, then their attention isn't inside the boundary of the goal, it's out here. And we achieve whatever we put our energy on. So you've got the goal, which is this finite thing, and we've got everything that's not the goal, which is this infinite thing. So if we are putting our attention outside of the goal because we're not okay with not achieving it, then we will achieve something that's not the goal. We always achieve something. We always create something, but we'll create something that's not the goal.
Okay. Is that like going for an interview, not getting it, but you've learned from the interview process and made yourself a growing as a person type of thing?
Yes, because I know you're because you work in university.
Yes.
And yeah, so it was an example of that. I was invited to speak to the final year students at Aston University in Birmingham. And I was invited to go and do that because one of my students was at Aston, and we did a board break and, you know, all that kind of stuff, cool stuff for these third year students. And we'd also talked about goal setting. And then there's about 100, 200 people there, and they're all on the milk round. I don't know if there still is the milk round, but at that time it was the milk round, which is what graduates went to get their first job. And this guy says, totally agree with what you're saying, Dr. Shepherd. Next word, probably could predict what it was, but yeah, I could see some of you saying that already. Do you know how many jobs there are available to graduates this year? And I thought, no, but I've got a funny feeling I'm going to find out. And he said 25,000, if I remember rightly. I'm going, great. And he said, do you know how many graduates are going for those 25,000 jobs? I thought, no, but I think I'm about to find out. And he said 30,000. So how can your idea about setting goals ever work when there's 30,000 graduates going for 25,000 jobs? And to which I said to him, how many jobs do you want? And he said, well, I only want one. And I said, right. So focus on one of the 25,000 that exist rather than the 5,000 that don't.
Yeah.
Does
Do you
that,
like my
does that,
background do you like my background, by the way? I'm thinking Rich, you see. I'm thinking Rich. I put a yacht behind background. The second question, David, I saw a sign ages ago and it said, always believe in success. And I said, I thought that's not a good sign. Always expect success and deserve it. And I think that's a really good mental attitude. But I want to square that with gratitude, because does expecting success and gratitude work together? That's, if you get me meaning. So if from a philosophical point of view, more if you're grateful, you're more likely to get more of it. If you bless what you've got, from a Huda point of view, you're more likely to get more of what you're grateful for. But if you success, are you being ungrateful? That's the second question. Is that too deep? I don't know.
no, that's a good question. I'm just thinking about it.
So Donald Trump expects success, doesn't he? He's got that. He's got that entitled attitude, and it works for him. Whether you like him or not, it works for him, and it's that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, well, here's the thing with that. Expect success kind of presupposes you're not successful now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas gratitude, for me, presupposes you are successful now.
Right.
It's a bit of a paradox again, in that where you are right now, you're successful. And that doesn't mean to say that you don't want more. Whereas what a lot of people do is they go, I don't have the success I want right now, I want this. So they're moving away from where they are right now.
Okay.
So they're focusing on where they are right now. Whereas where I am right now is perfect. And I want to be here.
Ah, yeah. And yeah, it's the and, isn't it? Yeah, got you.
Does that
Got you.
does that make sense?
Yeah. I just didn't know whether expecting success not you deserve it means you're being ungrateful, and that'll have a counter effect to what you've got already. So
Yeah. You know, with this thing with gratitude, I hear people go like, you know, gratitude is good. And it's a very, very powerful feeling. But people, you know, I hear people go like, well, what are you grateful for? I'm grateful for being alive. You know, I'm grateful for breathing. I'm not going to bother. I'm struggling to be polite. That's fucking wank gratitude. What am I grateful for? I'm grateful for the fact that I got a new guitar at the weekend that I wasn't expecting to find. I'm grateful for that, and I play it, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for creating this opportunity for me to share this stuff with you. So gratitude, my belief in gratitude is around it being specific, not global.
okay. I like the and bit because I brought back to what you said before. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Oh yeah.
Good. Cheers, Andy.
Thank you.
Sally, other questions?
Dan Lake's just put a question in. So yes, Dan, you're up.
Dan Lake. Where's Dan Lake on my screen?
Good evening,
Oh,
everybody.
got you, Dan.
Okay, so I wrote in the chat. I'll just read it as it comes out. Sorry if this is a weird question, Dave. So I just wondered if you could talk about the energy between persistence and then the expectation you give others when you follow it. And this comes from some of my own experience with running businesses and looking after multiple people, and especially when you scale and you go to hundreds, you create expectation when you're persistent, and also consistent, really. But like, there's a persistence that's more prevalent, I think, than the consistency to just keep doing something. So I don't know, I just thought I'd throw that out there and see what comes up, because it's one of the things that I quite like to do with you.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of like a paradoxical answer, which I find when you start working with concepts at the depth and the level that we're working on here, you do get paradoxical situations. And I think as a leader, it's important to be able to be comfortable with paradoxes, to be comfortable with dichotomies. This is something we're going to talk about a lot on the NLP Master Practitioner training, by the way, which is the ability to hold conflicting models of the world in your mind at the same time with no cognitive stress. As in, you've got this model, you got this model. They could be diametrically opposed, and you're okay with holding those models in your mind at the same time and then going, okay, which one's going to work best? So from a corporate point of view, then, and I'm going to talk about, an ideal here. And I know you've gone through the Fix Your Mind process that we did. So let's imagine you've got a team of people and they've let go of all of their negative emotions in the past: anger, sadness, fear, guilt. They've got rid of all of their away from values. So now they're totally towards motivated. And they've got their personal goals for their business, their career, whatever, their job, whatever it may be. Then we bolt onto that the values alignment process, which I'm going to put the video up about that in the group. As soon as we finish, I'll go and find it and put it in the group. So now what you've got is you've got a group of people with all the shit's gone. And now we're going to align their values. Now, aligning the values doesn't mean that their values are the same. It just means that they recognize that each person in the team has different values than them. And that's okay. Then the next step in the process, this is what I'll talk about in the video, is then creating a team's values and then aligning the team's values with the company's values. Then, as the leader, one is it's obviously important that you're there first to lead them through that. And my thing around leadership these days, and this is something I've been talking to a number of companies about, is around charismatic leadership. I think the command and control idea of leadership doesn't work anymore, because when you say to people these days, do this or you're off, they go, I'm off, thank you. I'll go do something else. So it's about people actually wanting to follow the leader, charismatic leadership, which means you've got a leader who also hasn't got inappropriate anger, sadness, fear, or guilt, aligned values, etc. So you've got to lead the ship. And when you do that, there'll be certain people who stay. They're the people you want. And there'll be certain people who leave. They're the people you don't want. And so that's the, and then as the leader, you set the goal. And you let go of how the people in your team or in your following achieve the goal. Because as long as it's in alignment with the corporate values, it's ethical, legal, some people might call moral, do you actually care how they achieve it? If you got a particular team member and you say, this is what I want you to achieve this week, and they've achieved it by Monday lunchtime, and then they disappear for the rest of the week, do you care? No. So that becomes then around management, truly management from results, rather than somebody showing up. A friend of mine used to work for Siemens, the German electronics company, and their top salesperson would pop into the office once every couple of years. But whenever he showed up, he would bring in a multi-billion-pound deal. They had no idea what he was doing the rest of the time. And they didn't care. I mean, when she was working there, this guy showed up. She'd never even seen him. She'd worked there for a couple of years. She'd never even seen or heard of this guy. He shows up, slaps down on the table a contract for refurbishing every underground train on London Underground. It was a £2 billion deal. And they hadn't seen him for 2 years. Now, that's actually quite an enlightened company that allows somebody to do that. I don't know if that answers your question, Dan, but
yeah, in a roundabout way, I think it is. Just in terms of sort of, I suppose, looking inside rather than looking outside in terms of expectation. Like, where are your expectations when you want somebody to reach the desired goal? You know, like, are you comfortable to let that go, providing they get the result? Managing, yeah.
So it's letting go of the expectation about what they need to do, because they might achieve the goal in a way that you'd never thought of.
And they often do. That's the other thing. They often do. Cool. All right. Thank you very much.
You achieved the goal, but you didn't do it the way I told you. We got lots of this kind of stuff on Masterprac, mate. Lots and lots of this kind of stuff. So you're gonna love it. Sally, any other questions?
Yep. Question from Renee Matthews. Renee, you can ask your question.
Renee.
Okay.
Wave,
Hi.
Renee,
Hi.
so I can see where you are on the screen.
Hi. I don't know what's going on with my camera. Oh, there we go.
Oh yeah, I've got you now. You're a little bit blurred then, but now you come into focus.
Okay, so there's this new thing floating around the internet called quietly quitting. Are you familiar with this new thing going around?
Quietly quitting.
Yeah. So it's now this new thing that's going around LinkedIn where it's a definition of if an employee just does the bare minimum, like you were using the example of the £2 billion contract. So in a way, he's doing the bare minimum. Monday, he does what he's meant to do and then leaves. He's essentially quietly quitting because, with COVID, there's this new phenomena of, everyone's now deciding that they're not going to just stick with the normal corporate rules and, just going off on their own. So the idea is that if somebody just does the bare minimum of what's required, they're actually quietly quitting as opposed to doing more than what one would expect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I hadn't come across that.
Yeah, it's been around LinkedIn for the last 2 weeks. Everyone's now, well, anyway, in my particular circles of law firms, it's the thing of, well, if your associates, your candidates are just doing the bare minimum and leaving at 5 o'clock and not staying till 11 and not getting there at 7, they're basically quietly quitting. They're basically just going through the motions because they don't really want to be there. And how do we fix that? That's kind of the thinking here.
Right. Okay. Now.
If that makes more sense.
Yeah, I've got. Yeah, so the guy from Siemens. By the way, I'd never met the guy. I don't know him. It was a personal friend of mine who used to work there, and she just said, "This guy showed up today." We haven't seen him for 2 years, and he just landed a £2 billion contract or whatever. I wouldn't.
That's definitely the art of persuasion.
I wouldn't. Yeah, it is definitely. I'd love to know. But obviously, he was working in the background on it. They just didn't care how he did it, and that's what he did. He would just show up every year or 2 years with this massive contract out of the blue. But he didn't pull it out of the blue. Obviously, he'd been working quietly, but because he produced the results, they didn't really care how he did it. The quietly quitting, I think there's, there has been a big values shift as a result of COVID, pandemic, etc. And you've now got people going, no, I want to work from home.
Yeah.
Which for many people means I'm going to watch Wimbledon.
I know.
So, that is going on, most definitely. And with changes in employment law, etc., it becomes increasingly more difficult to deal with that. Whereas, in the old days of the performance partnership, if somebody wasn't performing or somebody did something that wasn't okay with the goals, then I would just fire them and give them all their money and say goodbye, which that's difficult to do these days. But that's still my kind of like mindset, even though there's the legal wrangles to work around with that now. I think the big thing really is, and it's a towards and away from thing from an NLP point of view, which is where somebody needs, in their mind, by the way, this is just a pure perception, needs a particular job or wants a particular job. So, I had this experience way before I knew anything about NLP when I was managing a team at Reuters, and I got a guy who was doing what you're describing now on LinkedIn is called quietly quitting, in that he would arrive late, he'd take rather longer for lunch than he should, and he would leave bang on 5:30. So I knew I got a problem. And it got to the point where I got to have the uncomfortable conversation with him. So mind read from me, his late 80s, was that he wasn't happy with how much he was earning, how much I was paying him. He was a contractor. And with my budgets, I couldn't pay him anymore. So I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do about this. But anyway, I've got to do something about it. Sat him down and I said, look, I can tell you're not happy. But you need to know that I can't pay you anymore. And he said, oh, I don't want to be paid more. And I'm going like, this did my head in as a
what do you want?
20-something-year-old, before learning about NLP. I don't know. I'm quite happy with how much I'm being paid. And I said, so what do you want? Quite rightly. And he said, I want to be a manager. And I said, well, I've got nobody for you to manage. And he said, I don't want to manage anybody. I just want to be a manager.
Oh dear.
So I said to him, so if I give you the title Triarch, which was Reuters Trade Room Systems Intelligent Workstation we're working on, if I was to give you the title Triarch Relational Database Manager,
Oh, sounds fancy.
and he lit up like a Christmas tree,
There we go.
that'd be great. And, you know, Reuters at the time, we had our own printing company and whatever. So I just phoned up the printing firm and said, could you make me these Reuters business cards with this guy's name on it, with this title? And they were on his desk the next day. The next morning when he came in, starts arriving early, starts taking shorter lunch, starts staying late, which ties in with a lot of things that we've been talking about here, which is values. I'd misread. I went, money must be his highest value, but in actual fact,
Oh, I
now,
think there was a bit of projection, actually.
yeah, it could be. But thanks for that. Also, your projection. And but in actual fact, mind read, obviously, because I discovered this probably 5-6 years after the event. I retro processed it. It is obviously his number one value must have been something like status or
Recognition, maybe.
recognition or whatever it is. And I completely misread it. Whereas now, you know, what I would do with anybody that worked with me is I'd find out what their values were.
But this happens so often. Like we had this whole drama at the firm where I found out that the owner of the firm decided to dissolve the firm, and I was kind of caught off guard. And my assistant or our assistant, she never seemed that keen. I mean, 4 o'clock, bang, she was done. If you messaged her over the weekend, you wouldn't get a reply. So I thought, she's not going to be that phased about it. You know, if she's been told, you know, the company's closing down. And I managed to pull a Hail Mary. I got us all back on track. We joined a new firm. And I said to her today, so do you want to stay? And she's like, yes. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But using the example of maybe projecting whatever, maybe our own values, but yeah, coming back to that exact example, quietly quitting. We were told in the corporate industry, you there first thing, you leave after the boss, you put in the extra hours, you don't take lunch. But the new generation, they don't believe that. They don't work like that. It's us. We work like that. The millennials, they don't agree with that. No. So I think that's the first problem.
Yeah, well, it's not a problem. What we've got is we've got a value shift.
Yeah.
So, but then what NLP gives us is it gives us the ability to discover what some of these values are.
Yeah.
And you know, an example of this, and this is also really important as somebody running a team or running a firm. I did some sales training for a company that's not around anymore, Eagle Star. I think they got taken over by Zurich Life. And I did some sales training. The results were absolutely phenomenal. Their top salespeople increased their sales by 50%. That's their top salespeople, not their bottom salespeople, their top salespeople. So they came to me and said, we want you to train all the salespeople. We want all of our salespeople to be trained in NLP. And at the time, they got 35,000 salespeople.
Wow.
So I thought, yay, I'm going to be rich. But they said, but we can't afford for you to do it. So we want you to train our trainers to be able to do what you did. And I said, okay, that means we'll need to do an in-house practitioner training, which we did. And then I called the guy up about 6 months later, maybe, just to do a follow-up and you know, find out what was happening and see if we get some more business and whatever. And he said to me, I am never bringing you in to this company ever again. And I went, what are you talking about? I thought the training went really well. That's not the point. Because he got a team of about 7 or 8 people. And he said, I am the only person here. Everybody's left
Oh, wow.
after doing the practitioner training.
They value shifted.
And I said, so where have they gone? And this is his words. He said, they've all gone off to become fucking NLP practitioners is what.
Oh dear. Speaking of which, so I sent you a message last week to say thank you. Because the courts are now saying that we need to stop litigating, we need to start mediating. So I said, okay, fine. So I went on a mediation course last week and I went, oh, okay, I could just use NLP then. But and I was surprised at how useful NLP was in this particular setting, because all I kept thinking is reframe. And it was very useful, yes.
Called rapport, chunking up to gain agreement, and then reframing. Yes.
Yeah.
That
I just
mediation.
kept thinking, okay, just reframe. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, quietly quitting. I'm gonna make a note of that. I think
Thanks,
people.
Dave.
That's a pleasure. I think people have been quietly quitting for a long time. But it's just becoming more prevalent with working from home. Sally, any other questions?
No more questions, unless anybody's got any final.
There was me thinking this is a short chapter. We'll be done by 7:30. Like the Frank, I'm going to get the Breakthrough Session Masterclass video edited tonight, so you can get the replay. But there were no questions. I think there was one question, so I thought, okay, right. Started at 4. Looks like we're going to be done by 4:15.
David,
Yeah,
hi, it's Frank. Just real quick, I did take the masterclass breakthrough session follow-up. Maybe you did a recent one. This is like 3 months ago.
Oh, okay. I just did one today.
Yeah.
You probably did the Breakthrough Session Masterclass previously.
Exactly. Yeah, I wanted you to know that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I get lost in space. Yeah, so I think there's one question, and I said, okay, well, if that's all, then we'll finish. And then all these questions came tumbling out, and I didn't get finished till 5:30. But there we go. It was good. It was a good session. Okay, so I haven't got my book with me, so I can't tell you what oh no, I do know what the next one is. The next one is Mastermind. Now that's going to be potentially quite big, because the whole idea of mastermind groups and masterminding has become very popular, very big over the last few years, with people running these masterminding sessions, etc., etc., etc. And what those people are doing with Mastermind has nothing to do with what Napoleon Hill was talking about. Nothing at all. So yeah, that'll hold on to the tops of your heads next time, because they could well be coming off in next week's session. So yeah, that's a big one, actually. which will be great. It'll be good fun. It'll be good fun to see the smoke and steam coming out of your ears when I start telling you about what Napoleon Hill's version of Mastermind really was. So, useful session tonight, today, whatever. Good stuff. Thanks for being here. And we'll see you. And again, go to the group. I know some of you have been inviting people to the group. Keep doing that. I've still got a goal of getting to 1,000 members in the group. We're at well over 500 at this point in time. And I think, the group, all of you, not just me, not just Sally or whatever, all of you contribute and bless you, and create value in the community. That's the thing. Yeah. So invite some more people to join, and we'll see you again. Same bat time, same bat channel. Think and Grow Rich, number 9.
Wow.
Mastermind.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Good night. Bye.
Good night. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Rob. See you.